so they're able to use hydroelectric dams up north. But again, like I said, when they haven't got a proper national grid like here in the UK, like in a lot of Europe, like in the States, over in America, Canada, certain parts of South America, like the more developed countries, you know, it's gonna take a massive global effort. And like you said, I don't know if it's gonna take massive funding from governments, and you know, it's very, very difficult to get governments on the same page at any point in time.
Now, you said something like funding, right? You said something like funding, but is it not one of them where once the funding is in, after that the funding will be less, or will nuclear energy still need to be funded on a, because we know this country, man. Anything that is too much money, there's more money spent on that than the. Okay, so the government will happily spend more money on certain things than the NHS. Now, if we now add, we want to spend money on nuclear energy over the NHS, it's going to be a kick-off.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
So, is it going to be a one-off thing? Or are we talking, it have to be constantly funded, you get me?
It will have to be constantly funded, but it would get less, like you say. Like, the big amount that would be needed would be at the start to get the whole thing kicked off and to actually get stuff built and get stuff put in place and giving us the opportunities and the actual, you know, power to just get things done. And then after that, it would just have to be monitored like the grid is now. Well, you know, obviously not exactly like now, but to a degree like it is now.
I'm going to play a fun little game, yeah?
Okay,
I'm going to play a fun little game. And we'll bring our presenter back into this, Big J, Joseph. No worries. Yo, Dan, Shy.
What is going on?
No worries. Just keep on going. Sneaky Shy, do you want to get in? Okay.
Yeah, play.
Right, the game is now, we're going to call it little music. Drum roll. It is You Are the Prime Minister.
Oh,
okay. Now, we spoke a little bit about, what is a policy or a thing that you'd like to bring into the UK?
A policy I'd like to bring into the UK?
Or a thing you'd like to bring in the UK?
Oh, I know.
Go on, Daniel, what would you bring?
Sorry. Self-defense. Like, you know how America, you can use self-defense.
Self-defense. Okay, so bringing gun. Okay, gun laws.
Bringing guns.
Okay, hold on. Pause. Joseph, what's your own?
Policy I'll bring into the UK. Come back to me.
Okay. My man. Let me call it Shabbir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, don't worry about it.
So, we still stick on the topic, nuclear energy. So you're the Prime Minister now. You have to swap. We don't know all the policies, but we know we know the major policies in the UK. We have to swap nuclear energy with a certain major in the NHS in the UK. So one, NHS. Okay. 2, if we're gonna swap nuclear whatever, we'll have to add it onto tax. Now, if you don't want to swap with the NHS, you're now adding that onto tax. And we know what that means, tax inflation. So, you want to go and buy a banana from Asda, you're now paying £5 for a banana. A whole banana. But you know what that means as well? What did they do today? They raised the national limit for lowest wage. So from £8.50 now it's £9.06 or something like that.
Right.
Or you take something out that we're currently putting a lot of money into. Education, jobs, etc. So we'll go with, do you want to come? Who wants to go first?
I'd take money out of, I would take a large amount of money out of how much we spend on our defence forces. And how much we spend on the army.
Wow. Yo, I never actually thought of that, you know.
We give so much money to our defence forces and our army, and yes, I can understand the reason, but seeing as we're at a time of relative peace in the world, we're spending way too much on it. And I can understand that there's so many soldiers and so many officers and stuff, and they all need their pay, and they all need... That's fine, but it's just like I said, I'm an engineer. I have to deal with the engineering dilemma of I will know mechanical engineers who will go to work for Airbus, and they'll either build planes or they will build fighter jets and tanks that will be sold to other countries. And same for a lot of other aerospace companies, right? And it's just there's so much government backing and government funding into these things for no real reason. And there's this massive market in military equipment and military vehicles that it just keeps on getting government backing from a lot of the big countries like America, like the United States, like Canada, like the UK, like in other parts of Europe. I would take a lot of that funding away, since a lot of it is private anyway, since these companies make the vehicles themselves and make the rockets and make the ammunitions, etc. themselves. And I would put that towards nuclear energy.
You know what? You make it a very interesting. That was a very good decision.
Because the thing is, as well, like one thing I don't think people realise is how accessible these companies are. I was looking for placements last year, and I was going to. I can't remember the company name. I need to double check. But I was going to apply for a company that was working in nuclear energy. I thought, oh wow, nuclear energy, right? I go on their website, and what's the first thing on their banner that they show off? We produce Trident, the UK's strongest atomic bomb, and I was like, right, I'm out.
But you know what? See, with your nuclear energy stuff, that can work two ways. Because, like you said, the world is in relative peace.
Yeah.
Also, do we really need army men anymore? Like, we can generally convert those army men into police officers if we want to reduce the rate of crime in the UK. When we change that, because the world, we don't use soldiers like that anymore. We have freaking missiles, drones. Bringing nuclear energy into the foreplay is just like, you can use nuclear energy to make weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
Nuclear energy can be turned electromagnetic. It can be turned into missiles, electric ray guns, blah blah blah. Not like we will need any more, because we're not. I'm not giving you people any ideas, especially you nuclear physicists and engineers, every single aspect of engineering. Relax your head. You don't need it anymore. Thank you. You did your job. Move on. But yeah, you're really good point. That is, I actually never thought of that. I genuinely didn't think of that. But now, onto D. D Snoochie Shy. Tell us, son. You said you wanted to bring self-defense.
Yeah, not guns and stuff, but like.
Well,
Pepper spray.
No, not anything to do with weapons or anything. Just like the law. Like, for example, in America, if someone attacks you, you hit them, they die. Like, you're not necessarily gonna always go to jail for that, because you can get away with self-defense. But here, you can't do that.
All right, so that's very interesting. I heard you.
What?
Because I have. You said you don't always go to prison for it, yeah?
It's
Or
Shabbir
did you
talking,
say? Did you say you don't always, or you don't full stop on any property?
What, in America?
Yeah.
So if someone,
I don't think you don't always like.
that's
Basically, you can get away with it being self-defense. Like, if it actually is, whereas here we don't have that.
okay,
Yeah, I get what you mean by
so
that.
but D, you are correct, 100%. But obviously, this panel, Joseph's not here by the way, so that's why I've taken over. Usually Joseph will be on this.
Okay.
So you said something about if you hit someone, if someone hits you, you hit them back and they die. In America,
Not hitting, but like if someone attacks you and you defend yourself.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So for example, let's say two people at a bar, something happens. Person one is the person who instigates the fight.
Yeah.
They hit you. Person B, who is, you hit back, they fall over, crack their head open.
I've got. Do you know where my mind is at? It's more like.
nah, okay.
Let's say. Hold on, let me.
No, continue.
It's like, let's say I'm walking down the street, right? And someone comes up to me, violent, da. Now, I may, just as an act of self-defense, let's say, I just like, I don't know, nudge you out my way. That nudge, you could trip over your foot, bang your head, you're gone. Here, it would be, I've come and pushed you, you have not banged your head, and now you're like, do you know what I mean? I'll go to jail for that. Whereas America, they look at the actual picture of things.
Self-defense.
So that's what I feel like would be great.
Can I put one thing there?
Yeah.
Will that not need security? Will that not need security surveillance, for example? For example, you've done that, right? You've done that. The person's fell over, hits his head, but there's no cameras around.
Yeah.
Now, if there's no cameras around, no one can, or there's no witness around, or the witness believes that that wasn't self-defense. There's no real way of like identifying if that was self-defense or somebody attacking. So you understand what I'm saying?
I get that, but then I feel like forensics come into play as well as. I'm not too familiar with the law here because I'm not British, but I know that in America there's a whole like, well, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Do you know what I mean? So really, in those situations, I'm not saying everybody will tell the truth and be like, oh, we're attacked, Like, we watch crime documentaries and people are like, this person tried to kill me, whereas they threw them over a balcony. We found that out from forensics, doing autopsies, whatever the case is. So I feel like that would help that.
So I'm just gonna jump in as a